Thank you, Imrog. Hey, thank you, Imrog. I appreciate you. I'm going to keep it coming. Somebody in here is saying that Reticulum is a star. I'm not familiar with that context of Reticulum. I am familiar with the DNA biology context of Reticulum. I'm going to have to look into this star stuff. I don't know. However, whatever the case may be, that is not what we're discussing today. Today we are discussing Reticulum and Nomadnet. So this is going to be a general familiarization of what Reticulum is, what Nomadnet is, and why it's important. We're going to let a few more people kind of fold in here for a second. Yeah, then we'll kick it off here probably about in the next 5 minutes or so at 8 o'clock. So we'll let some people roll in. I know some people are getting off work and just getting home, and I think it's important that everybody get tapped in. For what it's worth, I am going to save this live stream for later. So at least I'm going to try to. It doesn't always work on the systems that I use, but I'm going to try to. So hopefully you guys will be able to watch this later. Let me see real quick. Live streaming on YouTube and Instagram, Instagram is probably better, but you let me know. We're live right now. All right. As I recall, the story had been abducted and shown a star map and told them where they came from. It was later revealed that a star or star formation, galaxy cluster, etc. Yeah, news to me, bud. Cool. So we've got 3 viewers in here. If you guys can let me know in the chat how the signal is. Are you hearing things okay? Are you seeing things okay? Any kind of feedback before we get started here would be super great. While you guys give me some feedback there in the chat, I'm going to grab a little beverage and we'll get this thing started. I need to get in focus here too. There we go. Much better. All right, so I will wait for you guys to give me some feedback here on the transmission, and once we get all clear on the transmission signal, we will move forward. While y'all are doing that, I'm gonna grab a drink. Stand by. It's not AI. Space Bro, this is a real situation here. There's no AI to be had anywhere in the vicinity of what we're talking about. If AI could do this, if AI could explain Reticulum well, I'd be out of a job. But it can't. AI can help you in the Reticulum process, but long short of it is this is not AI. This is a Pacifico. Would AI have a Pacifico? Don't count on it. That's what I thought. I bought this lectern from an old teacher at a nearby high school, and it's getting some use. I'm happy about that. Let's see. I was just on Discord. Yes, comma. I switched it from the Discord due to technical issues. We're live on Instagram now. Hey, just texted you back. All right, we got 34 people in here. So that's plenty for me. We're going to go ahead and kick off. And guys, like I said, this is a general familiarization class on Nomadnet and Reticulum, what it is, why it's cool, why you should get into it. And it's going to be super easy. It's going to be super easy to understand. And I'm actually going to present it to you in a way that's going to make you understand why you want to learn about it first before I just bore you to death with a ton of technical details, whatever. So first off, if you don't know, my name is Jake. I'm the CEO and founder of Gridbase. I'm an educator for all things radio communication and decentralization. Our primary goal here is to help folks be more empowered to decentralize themselves. Why is that important? Decentralization is the only way that we can get our power back as a people. We've lost our power to large corporations. We've lost our powers to technocrats. We've lost our power to the failing political system, and the middle class is fledging. And so the part of the reason why all this is the case is because there is a control grid. There is a network that controls your access to things. And as long as access is controlled and metered, then you have to be a good boy to get access to things. And so anyways, the whole 2030 agenda, this isn't a conspiracy. This isn't just my opinion. You can actually go read their website. The 2030 agenda will tell you that the whole thing that they want is for you to own nothing and be happy. Everything's going to be subscription based, and that's very much by design. It's communism, and I can't stand it. And yeah, the only way out of it is decentralization, right? So why is that the only way out of it? Well, because when you own your control grid, when you own your own method to grow food, you're no longer dependent upon the grocery store. When you own your own method to make fuel for your diesel truck, you're no longer dependent upon the gas station, so to speak. So you think about how many aspects of our lives are controlled by those fundamental elements: access to water, food, fuel, all these kinds of things. That's a liberty that we have a right to, but you have to work to keep that right. It is not necessarily going to be handed to you. And so this whole page, everything we do is try and get people more focused on decentralization, specifically in the communications and technological space. I think there's plenty of good homestead pages out there that teach you how to do farming. I think there's plenty of good pages out there that teach you how to do all kinds of other decentralized things, make money. Of course, there's a whole crypto element to this, right? Decentralized currencies. There's plenty of people that talk about that. There's a huge gap for people to be able to understand the communications, the decentralized social media, the decentralized internet. There's a huge gap of people talking about that. And so I wanted to fill that gap. It's something I'm passionate about. So thank you so much for being here. That is a top-down view of why we're here today. You probably already knew that if you're an OG of this page, but some of you are new here, so I had to break it down for you. Moving on. So that's the 30,000-foot view behind why we're even here, why we're even talking about any of this kind of stuff to begin with. Diving a little bit deeper in, what is Reticulum? What is Nomadnet? Well, it is a owned, decentralized internet. That's kind of stupidly put, and I'm going to break it down more later, but just so you know what we're talking about, it is an internet that you own. What is an internet that you don't own? An internet that you don't own is an internet that exists on servers that belong to Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and the Microsoft Azure Cloud, or Amazon Cloud Services, AWS Cloud. These people have big, large server rooms, and these pages are held on these server rooms. And when you go to Facebook or when you go to Google or whatever, through a network of cables and through a network of 5G and through a network of underground sea cables, fiber optic cables, your computer gets connected to a server room that is hosting that information, and you're accessing that website that way. So that is what a centralized internet looks like. A decentralized internet would be an internet that you own every single piece of the supply chain to. So your computer is connecting to, the server room, so to speak. Only in this case, the server room is in your garage, perhaps, or what have you. So we'll get more into the hardware aspects of what it takes to do this. I promise you, it's super, super, super easy. Out of all of the projects that I've worked on that are open source or in this kind of space, I was shocked at how easy Reticulum and Nomadnet and all this other stuff was. First of all, this whole thing, if you're new to open source, or if you're new to this kind of thing in general, I will let you know that all of these open source developers have what's known as a README file, or they have a repository where they keep all the information and documentation about what it is that they developed or that they are working on developing. A lot of times, they're not very good. They're too technical. It's like a developer writing a paper, and it's just way too far out there, and you can't read it. A lot of times, there's not even enough info there. And so, anyways, that's been my experience with a lot of open source projects. Some good open source project examples that you are likely familiar with are Meshtastic. That's an open source project that has lots of really good documentation and tools. Flipper Zero, that's another open source project that has lots of good documentation and tools and community support. So these are some good examples of open source projects, but by and large, open source projects lack a lot of really good critical information. One thing that stands out to me about Reticulum and Nomadnet, and again, we'll get into what the fuck that is in a second, but one of the things that stands out to me about this project is, like I mentioned at the top, how easy it is to install and work with, and part of that is due to the fact that it is so well documented. So many questions are answered in plain language. The community is really active, so a lot of questions that you have can be answered by the community. And also now what that means is that AI is able to aggregate more information. So the more, AI is scrubbing all of these pages when you ask it a question. If you use Grok 4, which is the X platform AI, you're familiar with how AI does its job. You give it a set of keywords, it scans a whole bunch of stuff that it has to give you an answer, an accurate answer. So the more information that's out there about a project like this, the more information there is for AI to scrub, meaning that you get more accurate information from AI. So I would highly encourage you to use Grok 4. ChatGPT is useless for this. I've used them both for this project. I've even used some other AI agents, such as RallySite AI, to do this project, and kind of as an AI research, as an AI case study, I guess. And Grok 4 performed the best for this. So Grok 4 is going to really help you understand what Reticulum is and how to install it. Let's see, what else could I say about that? I'm going to have my own GitHub page with files that hopefully allow you to just copy and paste stuff. So if at some point you see this, check my GitHub, gridbase.net. There may be some files there for you to be able to easily install this. But honestly, I don't know how much more easily I could make it, how much more easy I could make it, because the developers have already done such a good job. So before I go any further on a hardware tangent about what type of hardware you need to set up Reticulum, I kind of want to first just show you what my view looks like, because I think that'll be exciting for people to see exactly what it is they're even getting into. That's always exciting, I think. So we're going to do that. I'm going to pull some software up, and we'll talk about the software later. Don't worry about that. Again, this is a crash course. This is a FAM course. I'm going to do a whole video series, step by step, documenting how to do all this. So by no means do you need to be, trying to remember everything that I've said or whatever. That's not necessary. There will be a whole step-by-step process on everything that I am doing here. So don't sweat it. Just get used to it. We're going to do some familiarization. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you guys here. Before I do, let me check the chat real quick and see what's up. This is AI. I think we already covered that it isn't. Space Bros tripping on October. Sure. Don't know what that is, but I like it. I think my wife must be on this live stream. She's probably so tired of hearing about Reticulum. I've been talking to her all week about it. This is crazy. I have no idea why somebody would say something like that. Looks like we got a lot of bots in here and a bunch of junk, but we've got 11 people in here. I'm pretty happy about that. I think we have some folks over in YouTube as well. And like I mentioned, this will be available to watch later. So here we go. We're going to dive off into what my view looks like on Reticulum. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Boom, boom. Right here. All right. Let's see how this looks. All right, hopefully you guys can hear me now. Check, check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2. Hello? Hello? All right, cool. Okay, so we're good. All right, so sorry about the delay, folks. Just a little technical difficulty in figuring out how to best present this to you guys. So let me recap here real quick. Everything that you're seeing here will be discussed at a later date, but right now I'm just showing this to you so that you can see what your experience will be like when you do finally get this set up. I believe it's important to have a goal to work towards, and so you should know what's cool, what it looks like, what you're experiencing. So that's what we're doing here. So real ground floor level here, RNS is Reticulum Network Stack, and it is the foundation. It is architecture that other applications are built on top of. The same way that the concrete is laid for a house, and then you can put whatever you want on top of the concrete. You can put a barn dominium, you can put a brick house, you can put whatever, a metal building, but you got to lay the concrete. So similarly to building a home or any structure, you have to have a foundation for which to put things on. In this case, Reticulum Network Stack is the foundation that things are put on. So when I say things, what I mean is applications. So there's a few different applications that run on top of Reticulum. The one that you're seeing in front of you right now is known as Mesh Chat. Mesh Chat is currently available on Windows machines, Linux machines, and Android machines. So you can put Mesh Chat on any one of those devices. What Mesh Chat does is it lets you get a visual of what's going on in the Reticulum space. So another app that is built on top of Reticulum is Nomad Network, and that's more specifically what we're going to be focusing on here today. I am accessing Nomad Network through the application Mesh Chat, but it's also worth noting that Nomad Network is also its own application that can be accessed through the command line, and perhaps we'll take a look at that later on. But I really like the Mesh Chat version of Nomad Network, although sometimes it can be a little glitchy and slow. It is a very good web interface. So what you're looking at here is my interface. So what this is a Raspberry Pi that has Reticulum on it, and it's connected to the internet over an Ethernet cable at my home. So it's acting as a IP node, an internet provider-based node in the system. And so that is the gateway by which I am accessing everything that you see here. A Raspberry Pi 4 with an image flashed on it, and then Reticulum installed on it, and that's it. So very simple process. Again, we'll talk more about the details later on how to get the hardware working and all those things, but just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what exactly you're looking at here. This testnet in Amsterdam is something that I have connected my node to over IP. You can see that at the top there, it is a TCP interface. That is how I've networked to it. And we can talk more later about how to connect to other people's nodes and why that's beneficial. But just want to give you a general anatomy of what's going on here. Moving on now into interfaces, you can see these are the interfaces that I have enabled. So the default interface is the is the IP-based interface that I have connected at my house on my Raspberry Pi. The RNS is somebody else's node that they have connected that I have connected to. And I did that by going to add interface to connect everything that I have up here. But again, I don't want to get too technical. We'll go back, and I really want to show you Nomad Network. So Nomad Network is really cool. You can think of all of these things that you're seeing here as different websites that people have created. These announces that you see are other people announcing their website. So you can kind of go through here and see all of the different announcements that have been made for all these different websites that are hosted on Reticulum. Some of them are kind of BS. Some, like that one's BS, Goon Cloud Dallas. But other ones are really cool. And perhaps one of my most favorite ones that I found is Base 86. So what's really cool about Base 86 is that it is just a library. So if you take a look here, this is don't see something you like, call back in a few days. I update at regular intervals, whatever. You can see this guy is The transactional ruling class now seeks to replace liberal democracy and technocracy. Historically, such fundamental socio-political and economic change has only been possible through world war. So you can see people on here are probably like-minded individuals. So why is Base 86 cool? It has a library on it with lots of really neat books that you can download directly from here and save them to your computer. So again, this is a page, this is a website that somebody is hosting on their own Raspberry Pi that is running Reticulum and running Nomad Network. And they built a website to be able to share this kind of stuff with other people. So there's lots of really cool pages that are in the Nomadnet. Another example of a cool Nomadnet page is this off-grid Reticulum network. Yeah, I mean, it's collections of PDFs. There's a chat room that's in here that's really cool. Everything on Reticulum is completely encrypted, and so that's cool. If somebody took the USB card out of your machine and tried to put it in their machine, it would not work. I had the unpleasant experience of realizing that I had bricked an SD card last night, in fact, because I was not aware that that's what was going to happen when I put Reticulum on my Raspberry Pi, but that is what happened. So you can see here, name. I'm just going to be anonymous here and say yes and say, hey, this is really cool, because it is, and send that. And then somewhere in here, we will get my message. Hey, this is really cool. So this is a self-hosted, decentralized chat room, but it's really more than a chat room, as you can see here. There's a bulletin board, there's forums, there's RSS feed, there's links to things. It's just like a normal website would be. You can see here he even links to other Reticulum network sites. So that's really cool. We can go check out Arnode. Cool. Arnode. I don't read Italian, which is what I think this is. But if I did, I'm sure this would be really cool. Yeah, Italia. I know my letters. All right, so perhaps one of the coolest pages, and this will be the last one that I show here. Doomsday News is really cool, but I'm not going to show you that. Light Fighter Manifesto, this is from Christopher Rance. So if you're not familiar, Christopher Rance puts out the Light Fighter Manifesto once or twice a year. It's a very cool publication that he has. And Christopher Rance has an insane background all on his own, but he's super into this stuff. And you should really go follow Christopher Rance. He's the person that I saw that got me interested in this, along with a few other people, and I'm sure I will mention them at some point in this video. I can say, well, I'll leave the shout-outs for later. This isn't a shout-out video. Anyways, long short of it is, Chris is cool. He's the one that really kind of started foot-stomping this, at least in my sphere, and kind of the whole reason that I wanted to get into this. And I honestly think, even though his page has a simple layout compared to some of the other flashy stuff we've seen, I think his is one of the most functional pages. One thing that's really cool is the sitrep feed. And so you can create a new sitrep, you can search sitreps, you can check it by tags. You can see that this is a sitrep that I put in the Light Fighter Manifesto today, talking about the protests in Chicago, Illinois, and nearby locations. I've got a threat level 1. Level 1 means no known impact. Level 2 means potential impact. Level 3 means there has been impact. So if the protest was ongoing and it was escalating and it was looking violent, then perhaps this protest sitrep report would turn into a level 3. But right now it is a level 1. How I aggregate this information and where I get this information from is private to me at this point. So I'm not going to disclose that. But suffice to say that this is extremely accurate information that has been vetted thoroughly. So I'm not going to post anything in a sitrep place unless it's been vetted and is legit. But that's just me. You can see there's some other stuff in here, tests that people have done. So anyways, that's pretty interesting. There's some other cool aspects of the Light Fighter Manifesto page here. One is that there is a Brandmeister talk group for essentially a net, right? So it's kind of cool. There's some other communication tools that you can find in here. JS8 Call, the Ghost Net, that one's kind of popular. So Some other things that I really like in here are articles from the editor, urban ops, classifieds and services is also really neat because you can, tell people to hit you up in the chat if you want to buy something. So right here, there's a set of AES 256 encrypted radios, some Motorola XPR 7550Es, $500. So that's pretty cool. Basically, Facebook Marketplace. So essentially, once you got access to all this, oh, you know what? We gotta shouts out Palestine, dude. I mean, I'm not really, with the cause necessarily from an ideological standpoint, but it is fucked up over there. This is not a Gaza stream, but holy shit, Anyways, this is some pretty sobering information. These are death reports from Gaza, from the West Bank. This is the known press killed in Gaza. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of demographics here for some of the casualties and deaths that we're seeing over in Gaza. One thing that's really interesting about the Nomad Network and Reticulum mesh chat is that the information that you're getting there is likely good in most cases. It can either be really bad or it can be really good, but you got to think that there's kind of a lot of degrees of separation between somebody who's just goofing off and spreading misinformation and getting onto the Nomad Network and sharing information. So it's usually pretty easy to tell if something's legit or not, if you have good intuition. But I like to think that the people that end up on Nomad Network are here for a specific reason, at least for the most part. And a lot of the pages that I've seen, Doomsday News as an example, right? Like a lot of the pages that I've seen do share some similar like-minded ideas. So, yeah, 30 most recent earthquakes, risk level low. What else do we have? Global radiation levels. International weather data for major airports. I don't know how this information is aggregated, and I don't know if it's accurate. But at the very least, it's a demonstration of what's possible, on your own completely decentralized internet server. So enough about that. I'm going to stop sharing that. We're going to take a look at the chat here and see if there's anything going on that I missed. Let's see. Happy Thursday. What is this? What did you say? What is this for? Those that bear new. That's not English, bud. You need to use English, bud. English is good. Yeah, guys, before I move on, go ahead and hit me up in the chat and let me know if you have any questions. Would love to interact with folks, either on YouTube or on Instagram, to see what's going on and see what the general vibe is of the chat. If we don't have anything, I'm going to move on. Sweet. Well, that makes my life easy. We'll go ahead and no questions yet, just figuring out the use case, digging this. Right on. So let's talk more about use case. In the ever-present environment of restriction on communication, specifically digital communication and social media, like what we're seeing in the United Kingdom, something like this provides a lot of security, anonymity, and an alternative that's perhaps not as readily looked at, right? So it's easy for people who are interested in clamping down on, say, COVID misinformation to scrub the internet that is available to them, to suppress or promote information that is out there on a database that is easily accessible by people who are looking to promote or suppress misinformation or disinformation. So something like this, I think, is really interesting because it's not in the mind's eye of big media companies or people with agendas to push. This is solely owned, controlled, and operated by individuals. So that's one use case, right? Like just a new way to utilize the internet and to make the internet. The other use case is that you could access this completely offline. And that's an aspect that I'll go ahead and get into now. So we have the internet version of this, which is what you've seen so far. But you can actually do this over something called an Arnode. An Arnode essentially hijacks the same hardware that everybody's been using for Meshtastic and slaps Arnode firmware on it. In fact, I want to show you something really cool real quick because I think it is topical to what we're discussing here. So let me share my mesh chat screen with you guys real quick. Stand by. All right, Reticulum mesh chat. So I'm going to share the screen real quick. So over here in Tools, you can see something pops up called Arnode Flasher. So Arnode Flasher is a web-based flasher that allows you to flash Arnode firmware onto any of these devices. So you would then select your Heltec LoRa V3, whatever model it is, download your firmware, flash the firmware, provision the EEPROM, set the firmware hash, and you're done. And you just made an Arnode. So something that was once a Meshtastic device, or something that was once a IoT device in general, an Internet of Things device in general, not even it doesn't even necessarily have to be Meshtastic. It just has to be one of these supported boards, which these supported boards in some cases can be found in things like thermostats in homes and stuff. So that's kind of extreme and not 100% accurate, but I think it gets the point across that there's a lot of hardware out there that could support being having the firmware flash to Arnode from whatever it currently is. And it's as simple as plugging in your USB to the device over a serial, plugging it in your computer, and then as soon as you do, it's going to recognize all of this, and you're going to be able to follow this easy 4-step process to then flash that hardware with this firmware. So why that's cool, if you have a group of Arnodes, just like you had a group of mesh nodes, you could use this application, and by this application, I mean Reticulum Mesh Chat, over that Arnode network. So right here where you see network visualizer and interfaces, you would go through and add an interface and you would build your own network using a group of Arnodes. So it's a way for a team to develop a hub that has information in the field. And not just information, you can actually make calls. As you see right here, these are encrypted, end-to-end encrypted calls that you could make over an Arnode from one person who has Mesh Chat installed on their Android, connected via Bluetooth to an Arnode, over to somebody else within range who also has a similar setup. Or if there's a computer that's connected to an Arnode over serial, same thing. The person with the Android could communicate encrypted voice chat over to the computer that is connected to that Arnode network as well. And there's the ability to then feed that into a larger network system. So if let's say somebody was backhauling information over a Starlink in the field, people with Arnodes would be able to then theoretically connect to that one individual who is backhauling the data. This is already being done by folks like Constellation Response and Appalachia Tech. They're coming out with new radios all the time that do exactly this and are intended to do this. So this is not something that we're just like speaking in hyperbole about. This is something that's actively being done. I know Christopher Rance is talking about this stuff in a lot of his classes and demonstrating a lot of this capability. So yeah, this is not something that is like a pie in the sky and a wish and a hope and a prayer. This is something that is legit and it's happening now. And you can see already by the amount of users that are on Nomadnet, there's a very big community that is adopting this. And so I think we've reached the early adopter phase. I think there's still room for some innovators to come in. There's a lot of room for innovators on this. It's not a question about that. But I think we're kind of transitioning. You have the innovator phase, early adopters, and then you have your late adopters. So this arc kind of goes like this for new technology. And I think we're in the early adopter phase. I don't know that we've seen mass adoption yet, but definitely early adoption. And I fall into that early adoption category. So yeah, I'm gonna check the chat here. It looks like there's some stuff going on. Somebody said that's a fish barcode, and I fucking love that meme, dude. Let's see. I like the building your own info library. Yeah, I mean, building your own info library is a huge part of this. that's kind of there forever, that can be shared with other folks and immediately nuked if need be, right? And not to mention end-to-end encrypted. So that's some good stuff. I'm going to come back to this. That's not LA Fitness barcode. That's a fish barcode. And that's one of my favorite videos on the internet. Let's see. Are you building an app? What is Gridbase and what is Reticulum? So at the top of the video, I mentioned this, but Gridbase is a company that I started going on 4 years ago that is solely based on educating folks on the correct process and the process in general to become decentralized and decentralize all of their electronic and technological needs. If you want a more detailed description than that, when this video posts, go back and watch the very beginning, because that's the very first thing I talked about, but you weren't here on time, and I'm never going to forgive you for that. Yeah, so am I building an app? I am not building an app on top of Reticulum at the moment. What I'm doing on Reticulum at the moment is building a page on the Nomadnet. So the Gridbase page has already been announced on there. It's more of a placeholder at this point as I continue to flush everything out. And the overall goal is to be able to move a considerable amount of my followers. And by considerable, just to give you some numbers, we have 150,000 followers approximately across all platforms. I would be floored if I could move 150 people over to Reticulum. And the idea would be to have our own social media, so to speak, where we have chat rooms, exchanges, forums, similar to some of the other pages that we looked at, but for the Gridbase community. Part of this is building a package of videos that are going to get you from not knowing anything at all about Meshtastic, Reticulum, Mesh Core, Mesh Chat, nothing, to getting you on our page on the Nomadnet. So I'm going to be recording a bunch of videos and kind of onboarding everyone to that. I haven't said this publicly yet, but since you're here, you deserve to know that we have exclusive products that we're going to be giving to people to the first 150 people that make it over to our page once it's announced. So yeah, we're not asking for money. It is simply a reward for having made the transition over to that platform. So like I said, the first 150 people that make it over to our Reticulum page and check in, we're going to have a process for that where people check in. We're going to have a secure way to deliver you the goods. But the products are already here. They're already ordered. I may announce them this coming week. If I do announce them this coming week, it'll be on Discord. So kind of the plan is there's like a 3-phase step here, which is 1, to inform people on all of our main social medias. Step 2 is to try and migrate everybody over to the Discord. Once we migrate over everybody to the Discord, then we'll be looking to launch all the videos there to then migrate people from the Discord over into Nomadnet. So it's kind of a 3-phase process that Gridbase has set in place to encourage people, motivate people, educate people, and ultimately get them to adopt Nomadnet and specifically our site. So that's like the 30,000-foot view of why this even became a thing. So I hope that answers your question there, the Ascending Ancient. Let's see. Mrock said he's going to set up a node. That's super sick. Just hearing that off the rip is really exciting. So Ascending, Gridbase is a company based on decentralized sustainability. Hey, summed it up. Thank you. I was literally just going over that today. What a wild synchronicity. Life's crazy like that, It really is. Let's see. So this doesn't create a mesh network. No, it does. So it does create a mesh network, which we didn't even talk about Mesh Core. If you were here from the start of the video, I said that Reticulum Network Stack is just the foundation that a building is built upon. You have a concrete foundation. You can put a metal building on it. You can put a house on it. You can put a barn on it. You can do whatever, but you have to have a concrete slab to put it on. Reticulum Network Stack is the concrete slab that apps are built on top of in the simplest language possible. So Mesh Chat was one application that I showed. Mesh Core is another one. You can make a mesh network out of Reticulum. Let's say you have a group of Arnodes, which go back, rewind if you did not hear what an Arnode is, but an Arnode is essentially the same thing as a Meshtastic device, only it works on Reticulum, not whatever stack Meshtastic is on, I guess Meshtastic. Another example that might help you is if you're familiar with the brand Gotenna. Gotenna has a stack that all of their stuff works on. It's been a while since I've caught up with them, but at the time that I did caught up with them and how everything worked, they had a stack that was called Aspen Grove. And Aspen Grove is what Gotenna was built on top of, at least for the V1s I don't know if they're using Aspen Grove now for the GoTenna Pros, but I'm sure they utilize some aspect of Aspen Grove to be the foundation and the layer that their new stuff works on, because Aspen Grove was really good. And so, anyways, all of these things have a foundation. Meshtastic has its own foundation. GoTenna has its own proprietary foundation. It's not open source. Nobody else can use it. Reticulum is an open source foundation that anybody can use and build apps on top of. For this particular video, we have kind of heavily discussed Nomad Network and Mesh Chat, but there are other apps out there such as Mesh Core that would allow you to send and receive messages and location data all between people who are on the same mesh environment. It is a self-healing mesh environment, and it is also quasi-self-replicating. And what I mean by that is that if I have, let's say, Mesh Chat installed, I can flash an Arnode onto something else completely offline. So that may be a poor way of explaining it, and I'm certain that there's more information that I need to gather about how exactly that works. But at the simplest way to put it is that it's just self-replicating. So that's sick. Yeah, I don't know how much I could say about that without either sounding like an idiot or butchering it. So yeah, I'm not even going to try. Guys, one of the things to know about me is that I feel like my strength is being able to learn this stuff and teach it to you. And a lot of the times I do that while it's fresh on the dome, because that's when I have the most elementary understanding of it as I'm trying to understand it. And I feel like that's the best way to bring some concepts to you guys. So there are certainly topics that I discuss regularly that I've known about for 5+ years or whatever. And I'm an expert on those. And I usually speak worse on those topics than I speak on something that's brand new that I'm excited about and I'm still learning. So a lot of the times when you see me bring something like this to you, I'm not saying that I'm like the god of Reticulum. I'm just saying that I'm learning it too, and this is how I'm learning it. This is what I'm learning, and this is a knowledge transfer. I'm sharing it with you. I hope you find that helpful, and I hope that helps you understand. So if I seem like I'm tripping up on something, that's because I am. This is new. This is new. This is cool. And I'm excited about it, and I'm human. I'm bound to trip up. Let's see here. What do we have? Yeah. So I was just answering the question. So does this create a mesh network? I've thoroughly answered that. Let's see here. How are you preparing for infiltration by agencies or plants, or have you considered that? That's something I'm currently pondering. How do you secure a parallel community and social media comms? Well, I think Nomad Network answers the last question for sure, as far as paralleling, securing a parallel community for social media and comms, and that's partly why I'm interested in it at all. Anyway, so how am I preparing for infiltration by agencies or plants? Look, at the end of the day, I'm not God, right? So the best way that I insulate myself from that is by building a community, not just here on social media, but I actually met with my city councilman, my main city councilman, the chief of police, and the chief of the fire department, and the mayor. That happened on Tuesday. And then last Thursday, I met with the city council member too. So I stay up with my local civics, and I would encourage you to do that as well. Tons of good open source intelligence can be gained from just letting a civic member talk, and they love to talk. So you can just be like, you can just say, "What up?" And then they'll just talk your ear off about whatever's going on in city council. So that's been my experience every time, and I would encourage you to tap in with that. So how am I preparing? Well, I'm just constantly gathering information from the community that I've built here online. Certainly sometimes a terrible resource for information because there's lots of BS, but other times a really good resource for information. And at this point, I feel like I can tell. But then locally, I know all my neighbors, right? I know all of my neighbors in and around my area. If there was some kind of infiltration by an agency or what have you, there's only so much I can do. But the best thing that I am doing is having constant contact with my immediate and social media community, because that keeps me really well informed and gives me more time to prepare. Every mission is going to be totally different. So each thing's going to have a different requirement from an equipment standpoint or from a theological standpoint, or whether I'm going to stay in or whether I'm going to go out, and I'm not going to sit here and worry myself to the nth degree about all the different things that could go wrong. I'm just going to have all the tools that I need, and I'm going to collect all the information that I can, and I'm going to go to classes, and I'm going to train, and I'm going to do all these kinds of things because I genuinely enjoy doing them. And, at one point, men weren't training. They just went to war when they were 18, So I don't even really think about it like as training or some sort of elite thing. I just think it's like something you're supposed to do as like a American, So yeah, I'm not like tripped off about like how am I preparing for infiltration by agencies. No sweat if you are. I'm just saying, like, what do you mean? Like, I'm an American. That's my whole existence is a defensive posture towards other countries and towards people who seek to muck up the American standard of living that I've grown up to know. So yeah, it's all good. Let's see what else we got here. I'm totally in, man. The learning experience alone is worth it, in my opinion. Thanks for responding. My heart has been really searching for something like this. I'm super glad, man. Thank you for being so active in the chat. That's super helpful. Really good question, and one that I'm sure everybody is trying to answer, which is there ATAC integration? Look, that I know about right at this very second, no. Is there? Probably. There's probably a guy who's about to make a lot of money on an ATAC plugin. I probably could name drop him. I probably could name drop his company, and I bet he is staying up all night long trying to figure out how to make an ATAC plugin to monetize off of, and he's probably going to license it for like $300 a year or something. So, is there one that I know about firsthand? Honestly, no, but I'm sure that it is rapidly going to become a thing. So, yeah, let's see. It's really cool that I came across your channel. I got to catch up. Any good study material? Well, I'd be remiss to not tell you that I wrote a book. It is available on Amazon. Stand by, dude. I got a copy right here. All right. This is a copy of the Baofeng Buyer's Guide. The Baofeng Buyer's Guide is not really about buying Baofengs, so to speak. It's more about finding the right radio for off-grid preparedness. As you can see right here, finding the right radio for off-grid preparedness. If you like the way that I talk, you're going to probably like reading the book because there's no AI involved in writing this. I actually wrote this book. I did not use, I used AI for some formatting and spell check, but not even. That was in the draft process. This book actually has an editor. If you go here on the front end of this, you will see that it is edited by none other than Forrest Cooper of Redacted LLC. Forrest is a legend and a very good friend and very doctoral and studious. And so I was honored to have him edit my book. But yeah, this is not an AI edited book or generated book. This is a real book written by a real person, edited by a real person. So if you're interested in study material for radio in general, you can go to Amazon and check out the Baofeng Buyer's Guide. Search that, and you should be able to find it. If you can't, hit me up on the email or in the DMs or whatever and say, hey, I can't find the book on Amazon. But you should be able to find it because we've been selling them kind of a lot. So that means a lot of other people are finding them. Let's see. Hey, thanks. Muzzle Front said it's a really good book. Made a lot of sense. Nice. Sean Murphy said, thanks for the response. Hoping to see more YouTube content from you. I found you through Dirty Civilian. Well, thank you so much. You may see some more stuff from me and Drew in the future. So we'll have to wait and see. But thank you so much. I'm glad you found me from Dirty Civ. Those guys are fantastic. And I wish they didn't live so far away. We've been going live now for nearly an hour. Probably going to wrap it. I could go on and on and on and on about Reticulum, how cool I think it is, all the different applications there are for it, all the potential applications there are for it. But look, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to this one simple thing. Censorship and widespread control of every aspect of our life is coming in hot. And we've got to do something about it quick. And I think Liam Cottle, the developer of MeshChat, and all the people that worked on Reticulum and all the different apps, I think they saw that way before we did. And I believe that those people are invested in making sure that we don't live under some technocratic, bureaucratic nonsense. And I really think that it's important that if you want to insulate yourself from that, that you do that in every way that you possibly can. But I do think that the community aspect and the knowledge transfer is one of the most important aspects. Being able to have good intelligence about the status of things and being able to communicate that with your friends and neighbors is something that will keep you alive. So you can have all the beans, bullets, and band-aids in the world, but once you run out, you're gonna have to barter and trade and work for people, and you're gonna, that's the way it's gonna go. That's the way it was in the 30s and the Great Depression. That's the way it's been in other countries whenever they've had similar experiences. So I'm not making anything up here. I'm not some doomer. This is just historically accurate stuff. This is how it goes. So we live in the information age, and our resources look different, but we should capitalize on them the same way that our ancestors capitalized on their time and place and their technological revolution, right? So with that, I'm going to check here. Hey, somebody said I drink decent beer. Thanks. I'm going to finish drinking this beer. I'm going to let you guys mull on this for a little bit. Please go to instagram.com/gridbase.net or just search at gridbase, DOTNET. You can search that on YouTube. You can search that on Instagram. You'll find me there. The link to the Discord is on the Instagram, so please go check out gridbase.net on Instagram and click the link in the bio to go to the Discord, and please become a Discord member. You're going to join 500 other people that are already there. And getting ready for the migration, there's actually a channel on there called Migration where we're tracking all of this kind of stuff. So in the future, I would like to put my lives on Discord. So if this is something that you like and you want to see another episode, you're probably only going to see it on Discord. So at the beginning here, when we're kind of onboarding people to what this is, before we make the migration or the transfer, I'm going to do some streams on here, but slowly and surely, Discord's going to be the only place that I do it, and eventually even that will go away. So yeah, this is for a limited time only. My time on social media is very, very limited. I'm out of here as soon as I take a good few people with me. So yeah, so that's the plan. YouTube.com/@gridbase.net. Let's see what else. Patreon.com/gridbase. If you want one-on-one consulting for radio, comms, tech projects, whatever, go to patreon.com/gridbase. You're going to join a number of other people over there who are already taking advantage of one-on-one consultations every single week. Yeah, so if you have questions and you just want a one-on-one with me, that's by all means the best way to support the channel, the best way to support the business, and the best way for you to get what you need with regard to very specific questions about your radio setup or your desired radio setup. It can save you a lot of time. It's only $10. So I don't know how much you value your time, but if you go spend that $10, I promise you I can save you 4 hours at least by just doing a 30-minute consultation. So it's a no-brainer is what I'm saying, right? So go tap in on the Patreon, patreon.com/gridbase. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna dip out. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you in the comments. Shoot me an email, info@gridbase.net. I check it all the time. See y'all later.